Let's be honest here for a second. If you could see every possible future, would you call what you're doing something heroic, or would you just call it basic math? Because right now in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Kashin Koji isn't acting like a mentor. He's acting like a man who's already decided who gets to live and die. He's playing God to a degree. In Boruto Uzumaki, he's slowly realizing that relying on a god tier ability like Ten Directions might be the most dangerous mistake that he's ever made. It's a necessary evil, but Boruto, you could argue, is beginning to realize this is a mistake. Because when he sees that there's someone like Kashin Koji who can see everything, all possible outcomes, the people inside those futures, they stop being people. They become acceptable losses. And that's terrifying. Is that something that you could see a child of Naruto accepting? Probably not. And what's even more terrifying is that the story may have already shown us exactly how Boruto has the opportunity to sidestep Kashin Koji entirely, causing a huge rift between the two. Not by overpowering him. Boruto could kill Koji at any moment. Not by betraying him outright. That's not in character for Boruto. But instead, it might be because Boruto can use the one ally that everyone is overlooking, Momoshiki Otsutsuki himself. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video, where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a look at why Boruto might really be one more necessary sacrifice away from using a power that Momoshiki already has to counter Kashin Koji's coldly pragmatic approach to making the best possible future, where Jura is defeated by using a power Momoshiki has shown us in part 1 of Boruto. Also, a quick reminder, the chapter review should be out by the time of the official release, which is the 20th. Adding this in post-recording, but the editor did get the audio last night. This video was edited on Wednesday, and I'm adding this update Saturday morning because there are newer people who will be asking, hey, where's the chapter review? We're aiming for the 19th or the 20th to drop the review. So I thank you for your patience, and while I have you here, don't forget to check out my all 14 domain expansions in Jujutsu Kaisen video on my Anime Explained channel. Super proud of the work done on that video. Probably the best Jujutsu Kaisen video that I've done on Anime Explained. So let's get back into the video. So Kashin Koji's power, it isn't necessarily a problem, but it's more so a philosophy. So when you look at Kashin Koji, ever since his reintroduction in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Kashin Koji has positioned himself as the ultimate chess master, a man who can see every branching path of reality via his 10 directions. And to be clear, 10 directions isn't just powerful, it's inhumane when you think about it. Koji doesn't just see a future, he sees all possible futures, all possible timelines where one person lives and another one dies. And when you give a consequentialist like him that type of a power, it becomes a problem. A philosopher who believes that actions are justified solely by their outcomes, not by their morality. If killing one person prevents a catastrophe that can kill millions, then to Kashin Koji, the choice is obvious. Who cares if that baby needs to die? If we can stop a volcano from going out, hey, that baby's gotta die. And there's a problem here. Boruto is no longer being informed when you look at his role. Instead, he's being managed. Boruto is basically being used like a tool, the way that shinobi were meant to be used in Naruto under the old system. Shinobi were tools for the feudal lords, they're tools for their employers. Kashin Koji is using Boruto as a tool to take down Jura. More and more, Boruto is being shown only learning about Kashin Koji's actions after they've already happened, after someone like Yodo has already died, after a line has already been crossed. Kashin Koji doesn't run anything by Boruto. He doesn't ask him. Because from Kashin Koji's perspective, Boruto might make the wrong emotional choice. Boruto is merely the kunai that is meant to cut away at the threads of fate themselves. He told him, hey, you're a singularity of fate like myself, but he doesn't treat him like an equal. And when you look at Boruto, Boruto is an idealist that is trapped inside of a consequentialist world. Boruto Uzumaki is many things. He's reckless. He's arrogant at times. He is absurdly gifted. But above all else, he is an idealist. He is every bit the son of Naruto. Boruto fundamentally believes that there must be a way to win without sacrificing innocent lives. And that belief isn't childish, it's inherited. Naruto didn't save the world because he chose the most efficient path. Had he done that, he would have walked the line of logic that someone like Sasuke would have walked. He saved it because he refused to accept a future where people were treated as expendable. The entire world told him, hey, Sasuke's too far gone, you gotta kill that guy. Naruto was like, I can't be Hokage if I can't save Sasuke. That's the irony here. Kashin Koji is a clone of Jiraiya. Jiraiya helped shape Naruto's worldview, but Kashin Koji also believes that he is preventing catastrophe. But from Boruto's perspective, Kashin Koji is very slowly, you could argue, becoming no different than Otsutsuki, beings who harvest worlds because the outcome justifies the destruction. Kashin Koji is not trying to harvest a chakra fruit that destroys the world, but Kashin Koji, by sacrificing lives, it's the same line of thinking. A few lives can be sacrificed for a greater good, just as Otsutsuki looks at a planet and says, these lives can be sacrificed so I can get a chakra fruit. It's on a bigger scale, but there's a similar line of logic there. When you look at Boruto and his interactions with Kashin Koji, you can see that he's starting to feel it. That tension, that quiet unease every time that he gets the feeling Kashin Koji is withholding information. That's not accidental. It's something I've been screaming at the top of my lungs since chapter 13, when Kashin Koji and Boruto first met each other in the time skip. I was like, this is not gonna last long. The story, it is setting up for an eventual fracture. And that brings me to why there's a very convenient agreement with Momoshiki that can be used to basically counter everything Kashin Koji is doing. So at the heart of this video, I think there's a moment that a lot of fans have brushed past: Boruto's agreement with Momoshiki Otsutsuki. On the surface level, it looks like the standard devil's bargain. Momoshiki offers Boruto access to his power whenever Boruto wants, and in exchange, Momoshiki gets Boruto's body once Jura is defeated. That's a surface level reading of everything that happened. And the story is drawing so much focus onto that for that reason. A lot of fans, we focus on, hey, this means he gets access to raw strength and chakra amplification and all these crazy combat abilities. And hey, Boruto's a sequel to one of the biggest gateway shonen, one of the biggest gateway battle shonen of all time. We like to see things go boom, boom, bam, bam. But there's one more important thing that Momoshiki has demonstrated in terms of abilities. It's far more dangerous than any ninjutsu that he could give Boruto access to. It's far more dangerous than any ability that Kashin Koji might be taking into consideration. Instead, what we should be looking at is Momoshiki also has future sight. And this is where Ikimoto's commentary becomes way more crucial, because he has addressed this by giving us a hint that I think a lot of people have forgotten about. If you go back to the Q&A that Ikimoto did, he clarified something that should reframe the entire story for you. He explained that when Boruto glimpsed the future back during the Omnipotence arc, when he had that conversation with Amato, and Amato was telling everybody all this stuff about Shiba, and Boruto got that vision of the future. That ability wasn't random. That was Momoshiki's personal power. It was basically a Byakugan-based precognitive ability that only belongs to Momoshiki, that allows Momoshiki to see bits and fragments of the future. Not all futures, not all branching timelines, but set events, fixed outcomes. Ikimoto described it as being inferior to Ten Directions. And that word inferior is doing a lot of work here, because inferior does not mean useless. It just means that it's different. And that's a huge distinction that I do think we need to make. Because there's a tendency to say if something is inferior, it's useless. The Chidori is inferior to the Rasengan. That has been stated numerous times throughout the story. But when used by the right person, the Chidori is an incredibly powerful jutsu. To give another example, just as Zetsu was explaining during the Sasuke versus Itachi fight, a shuriken or a kunai are inferior weapons, but in the hands of a master, they become extremely deadly. That is why someone like Genma was able to shoot a toothpick out at the Sound 4 and counter the kunai that they're throwing. That toothpick should have been split. but in the hands of a true master, that toothpick became a lethal weapon. So I want to dive a little deeper into why inferior is actually an advantage here. And it's one that I think that a lot of fans have overlooked. So 10 Directions, it's this big bad boogeyman. We can all pretty much agree with. It shows everything, every branching timeline, every possible failure, every acceptable casualty. When major events shift because somebody does something that operates outside of the future that was shown, 10 Directions gets an update. And once that update is set in stone, you get more branching timelines, and so you can further adjust your strategy. Seems super overpowered. Seems like something you cannot beat, right? Well, that ironically makes decisive moral action even harder, because it opens up a degree of having to react when changes are made. Momoshiki's future sight is inferior, but it does a slight opposite. It shows specific inevitabilities. We've already seen that it's been proven correct, because Momoshiki foresaw that Naruto would lose Kurama. He bragged about it. He gaslighted Boruto because he saw Boruto losing everything due to omnipotence. But because he could only see specific snapshots and not everything surrounding it, that is how he did not know that Sarada would be immune to omnipotence, and that Sarada would send Sasuke to Boruto, which would prevent Momoshiki from taking over Boruto's body. But for the most part, that future sight ability that Momoshiki had, it was batting pretty high. You don't see every possible detail, but you see outcomes that are for the most part very fixed. Now imagine someone like Boruto being able to use that ability deliberately, not as a passive victim, but as a strategist. Boruto doesn't need to see all possible futures. He only needs to see non-negotiable ones. The moments where somebody will die unless intervention happens. When Boruto saw glimpses of the future when he and Momoshiki's minds were merging together towards the end of Boruto Part 1, he didn't know what it was he saw. He freaked out. Boruto will know the things I saw, for the most part, they happen. He knows that an ability like that exists because he knows that 10 Directions is a thing. Ikimoto would not have picked out that question asked by fans to ask for specification. Does Momoshiki's ability, is that 10 Directions? He wouldn't have picked that out unless that was going to be something addressed later on. There's a specific reason for it. And speaking of specific reasons, I think that it kind of comes down to the fact that Boruto is being set up to be a moral buffer. So this is where things do get a little interesting here. So Boruto already has partial knowledge from Kashin Koji. He knows that certain paths are dangerous. He knows there are certain events that are gonna happen. Certain figures are pivotal. Now, when you add in Momoshiki has a fixed future glimpse on top of that Boruto should be able to tap into, because Momoshiki said you can get everything. Momoshiki, as we saw, he can't see his direct future. Otherwise, he would have broke Boruto's neck when he saw him during the tuning exams. So obviously what we see is that Momoshiki's future doesn't necessarily show him everything that has to do with him. But it is one of those things, if Boruto is able to use even a fraction of that power, that can change a lot. Suddenly, Boruto becomes something that Kashin Koji never anticipated. He becomes a buffer. Someone who can step in before Kashin Koji decides, hey, Inojin, you're pretty cool, but I need you to die. Boruto can stop that. He just needs to get there first. He needs to save the person that Kashin Koji has already written off. He needs to force a new timeline branch to exist. And every time that Boruto does that, it undermines Kashin Koji's authority. And that is very important because that adds a very crucial thing to the story. It gives us more conflict. From Kashin Koji's perspective, Boruto is a wild card. He's losing control of him. He's called him a brat more than once. Not because he's disobedient, but because Boruto introduces uncertainty, because Boruto is an idealist. You could argue that Kashin Koji can tolerate rebellion, but what he can't truly tolerate is somebody who disrupts the logic of 10 Directions itself. That is why he called Boruto a brat when Boruto was like, You let Yodo die, and if I didn't step in, Konohamaru would have died, and Kashin Koji's going, yo, those are necessary sacrifices, fam. Koji is going to be in a situation where he has to confront the possibility that Boruto might be able to stop sacrifices, and he's going to have to find another way to lead towards a timeline where Jura is defeated. And that could be something devastating, but that's the point. It's going to drive us towards an inevitable break. We're going to get an eventual split between Boruto and Kashin Koji. It's not going to be loud. It's not going to be dramatic at first. It's going to be subtle. I think we're already seeing subtle cracks happen. Boruto acting without approval, arriving early, saving someone that Koji expected to lose. And eventually, Koji's going to realize something terrifying. Boruto, he's not truly relying on Ten Directions. Because Boruto doesn't want perfect knowledge. Boruto wants hope. Hope for a better future where everyone can benefit. And that kind of goes back to the whole point of shonen. Shonen show us the world how it should be, how we should hope for it to be, not necessarily the way that the world actually operates. And when you really look at it, Momoshiki low-key kind of wins either way. Because Momoshiki does benefit from this. Every time Boruto uses his power instead of Kashin Koji's guidance, Boruto moves further away from human mentorship, and he's giving Momoshiki an edge that he can exploit. Momoshiki is crafty enough to find a way to gaslight Boruto. Momoshiki doesn't need Boruto to fall. He just needs Boruto to choose differently. Obviously, because again, this is a shonen, Momoshiki will not get full control of Boruto in the way that he wants, but it does make things interesting, and it does make you look at the theme that the story is kind of playing with, which is the cost of seeing everything. Ten Directions sees all possible futures. Momoshiki sees unavoidable futures. Boruto stands between them, refusing to accept either worldview fully, and as we've seen, in part 1, Boruto was able to alter what should have been an unavoidable future where Momoshiki took control of Boruto's body. He's going to alter a unavoidable future that Kashin Koji is claiming, hey, if we don't do this, if these people don't die, Jura's not going to be defeated. Boruto's going to cause an alteration. And while you could argue that's a tragedy, it fits the shonen line of logic very closely. On one hand, the efficiency of Kashin Koji is something that is coldly logical and pragmatic, but on the other hand, that embodiment of hope that Boruto is representing despite everything he's been through, that's the exact type of storytelling that you would choose from shonen. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking here on the left to check out more videos from Naruto Explained, or clicking on the right, check out videos from my other 2 anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.